Dream Team? It's your boy Neal back with another reaction video, guys. Here we are with what F1 team principals think of Max Verstappen. Before we dive in, make sure you subscribe, ring notification bell, give the video a thumbs up so it gets suggested. Oh, you got Max.
F1 team bosses are locked in a bittersweet relationship with Max Verstappen. On one hand, they know he's one of the reasons the sport is getting so much publicity. But on the other hand, they also know the Dutch racer is the main reason their drivers won't win the championship this year and perhaps for the foreseeable future. It's not exactly an ideal scenario. However, that's the reality that these gladiators have found themselves in, and they have no choice but to live with it. So what exactly do they make of Verstappen? Do they enjoy competing against him, or would they rather have a championship without the Red Bull racer? From Fred Vasseur to Mike Crack and James Vowles, this is what F1 team principals think of Max Verstappen.
They probably would rather have a championship. But, I mean, hey, y'all better get in that freaking garage and get them cars right.
Andreas Stella. In Formula One, there's an unwritten rule that states that team principals must support their drivers at all times. And as one of the top guns in the paddock, McLaren team boss Andreas Stella knows well enough not to break this rule. However, with so many talents on the grid, team executives are sometimes forced to bend their way around this rule. In December 2023, Stella was asked to name his best drivers on the grid, and unsurprisingly, Lando Norris makes the list, alongside Max Verstappen and Fernando Alonso, whom Stella describes as a complete driver. My top three drivers with the same cars would be Max Verstappen, Lando Norris, and Fernando Alonso, the Italian executive said. The fact that Andreas Stella chose to ignore McLaren's second driver, Oscar Piastri, is very telling. Perhaps nobody...
Piastri's still young, you know what I'm saying? He's still young. Verstappen, you can't deny Verstappen. There's no denying Max Verstappen. He's pure greatness, dog.
He briefed him about the unwritten rule. Speaking further about Verstappen, Stella believes the reigning world champion wouldn't be as successful as he currently is if he was driving a McLaren. Even an excellent driver like Verstappen can only do what the material allows him to do,
that is
Stella
true.
Explained. The combination of Verstappen and Red Bull is faster than we are at the moment. We have to beat them. Red Bull is good enough to make that performance possible. With our car, it is impossible with any driver in the car to be as fast as Red Bull in a race.
I feel that.
The issue of how Max Verstappen would perform in another car has been a hotly debated topic for some time now. But considering his performances at Toro Rosso, everyone, including Andreas Stella, agrees that the Red Bull racer is a super talented driver.
That's why I'm like, Red Bull does have the best car. I'm not gonna argue. But like to use that to take away from Max Verstappen's greatness, I don't like when people do that, right? Like, no, Red Bull's got the fastest car, but Max is also just the best driver right now. Like, right now, he's just untouchable. And like he said, his performance in lesser cars has been great in the past. Maybe not as dominant as he is now, but it has been great in lesser cars.
You have to separate the car from the driver, Stella said. Where Verstappen makes the difference is that he always performs at an extremely high level, even in the most difficult conditions. In the rain at Zandvoort, or when conditions change during Q3 in Brazil. Verstappen shows what the Red Bull can do if you handle it perfectly. Going into this season, Stella would have been hoping that his team can end Verstappen's dominance. But on the strength of what we've seen so far, the Dutchman looks set to defend his title for a fourth successive campaign.
For sure.
Fred Vasseur. Like every true F1 follower, Ferrari's Fred Vasseur is wowed by Max Verstappen's talents. However, as Max coasted to the 2023 F1 title, the French executive pointed out something about the Dutch racer that most people tend to ignore. What is impressive is that for sure, Red Bull always had mega pace. From Monza to Monaco, you can cover all the aspects of the track. They were performant, and this is impressive, Vasseur said. But I think the most impressive for me is that Max, it's not just about the last 10 races, but it's about the last 2 years. I would say that he has done a single mistake. Speaking further, Vasseur says Verstappen's flawless record is aided by the fact that he is usually ahead of the chasing pack and rarely comes under pressure from other drivers. However, the Ferrari team boss notes that even in the few times that Verstappen was put under pressure last season, the Red Bull racer emerged unscathed. For sure, it's easier to not do mistakes when you have margin on the others and so on, but even in this kind of circumstances, he is able to manage the situation very well.
He got racing in his blood. The man was built to be an F1 racer. He was built for this. Literally. Bred for this.
In another interview, Fred Vasseur spoke about the possibility of Verstappen joining Ferrari, saying every team principal on the grid would love to have the star racer on their team. I believe that if the same question were posed to the 10 team principals on the grid, all would answer they would be pleased to have him on the team, Vasseur said. Max has a contract with Red Bull until 2028. We have to focus on ourselves, not to lose energy and work on our own things, thinking about who is on the team. It is not just a matter for drivers, you have to look at the whole. So as of today, it is not something we need to discuss. But I also say never. Seeing Verstappen in the red overalls of Ferrari would be iconic. But with Lewis Hamilton arriving in 2025, Vasseur's dream to sign the Dutchman will have to wait for a few more seasons.
It ain't gonna happen. It ain't happening.
Similar to his colleagues in the paddock, Mike Crack has been given a mandate to dethrone Red Bull and Max Verstappen. And while he's committed to fulfilling this mandate, the Aston Martin team boss has no problems admitting how good the synergy between Verstappen and Red Bull has been in recent times. I think the first thing we have to acknowledge is the combination between Max and that car is outstanding, the former Sauber team principal said. Mike made this comment at the business end of the 2023 F1 season, where Max Verstappen totally dominated the rest of the field. But a few weeks to the first race of the 2024 season, the Aston Martin executive echoed similar thoughts after watching Verstappen finish ahead of the grid by over 1.1 seconds during pre-season testing. It was pretty impressive. They have an impressive car, Mike Crack told Sky Sports. Despite being impressed by Verstappen's pre-season performance, Mike also warned that fans and analysts shouldn't read too much into it because race conditions are usually different. I think it's a good car and so are others. I think we have to be careful not to put too much into a single run. Conditions can change a lot during the day and nobody really knows what the other person is doing. Well, as Mike predicted, the race conditions of the...
That is true. Strategies are different. Race conditions are different. Everything's different. But the one thing that's constant is Max on a podium. That is the constant. Max will be on the podium, and more than likely, it will be at that top spot. That's the constant.
The Bahrain Grand Prix were slightly different from what we saw during preseason testing, but ultimately, Verstappen claimed victory. James Vowles. Since replacing Jos Capito as the team principal of the Williams F1 team, James Vowles has had his hands full as he tries to restore the team to its glory days. It's a difficult task that will probably take years of hard work to achieve, but the Williams boss says he is absolutely braced up for it. You can look at it very negatively. Yes, there is an extreme amount of work to do. It's a challenge, but we love that. We have a lot of good people. I am working on putting all the dots in the right place, Vowles explained. This season is motivating. If we perform like this with what we have now, it will really work out. I know that for sure. Expressing his thoughts further, Vowles hinted that one of the reasons he's working hard is to create an enabling environment for Verstappen to win titles at Williams if the Dutch driver decides to join the team in the future. It would be great if Max Verstappen wants to drive for us in a few years' time, because we will have everything so well together by then, Vowles said. Right now, Verstappen joining Williams sounds like wishful thinking. But
Very
most
wishful
people would have
thinking.
said the same thing about Lewis Hamilton moving to Ferrari a few months ago. In the end, the possibility of such a move will depend on whether or not Verstappen is willing to leave Red Bull. And more importantly, if he's open to racing for Williams at the moment, that seems very unlikely. But if there was any chance that it could happen, James Vowles ultimately ruined it with his comments about the 2021 F1 season. During a rare appearance on the High Performance podcast, the Williams boss insinuated that Verstappen's 2021 championship win was unfair. You can win a world championship, but if you've done so in a way that is not fair and sportsmanlike, you will have regrets for life. Yeah, you'll have a championship to your name, but it would be sullied, it would be muddied, and it wouldn't be pure. Verstappen definitely
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. I said it in another video, and I'll say it. As many things as it seemed like were almost rigged for Max Verstappen, as many things that went for him, there were just as many things that were rigged against him. And there were, like things that went against him where it didn't seem like it was fair. So as many things it didn't seem like it was fair for Max Verstappen, there was just as many that went against him that wasn't fair to Max Verstappen. And so I disagree with everybody who denies him of the 2021 title. I think it was controversial, yes. And I think that we absolutely love that. But I think that Max went out and won that like fair and square. I would never take that away from him. But I guess everybody has the right to feel how they want to.
Be excited to hear those words, especially coming from a team principal who's hoping to sign him in the future. As you would imagine, Vowles isn't the only team boss who thinks the 2021 F1 Championship was controversial. There's at least one other team principal who feels this way.
Toto.
Before we reveal his identity, please
We know
like and
it's
subscribe
Toto.
to our channel to enjoy more content about Max Verstappen and Formula 1. Andreas Sidle. Nowadays, Andreas Sidle oversees the operations of the Sauber Motorsports team, but back in 2021, he was the team principal of McLaren. And like some of his colleagues, Sidle isn't a fan of the controversy that played out in the final laps of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix.
I thought it was Toto. Did they show Mercedes? Did they show Toto or no? I didn't see
Even
him.
worse, the German manager believes that similar controversial decisions were made throughout the season. It is clear that what happened in Abu Dhabi was very controversial and not good for the sport, Sidle explained. If you look at the entire season, a lot of controversial things happened that were overall not good for the sport. To be fair, as Andreas Sidle pointed out, the final race of the 2021 F1 season was controversial, but it certainly doesn't make the title worth any less. Do you think his 2021 championship win was unfair? Let us know in the comments section below.
I don't think it was. But that's all we got, y'all. Make sure y'all subscribe, ring notification bell, get a video a thumbs up so it gets suggested. It's your boy D Neal. Out.